What's going on, guys? Today, very cool video. Joey showed up just randomly out of the blue.
Just wanted to come by.
It's just crazy. And I figured one of the videos that I've been meaning to make, and I actually saw a comment today on a video talking about an intro to the overhead press and strongman movements like that. So what I wanted to do is, considering we have 2019, what is it, USS
Strongman National
Champion, and Joey, who's going to be going for that OSG, right?
Yeah, world title.
World title. Yep, that's the plan. Not a rookie when it comes to overhead pressing, right? You've strict pressed 315. You put 425 over your head in competition, right?
It was actually just in training, but in competition, yeah, I mean, close.
That's awesome, man. So if you want a really good video on how to do something, you get someone who's doing the thing, right? My overhead press is something that I'll be working on as well, but I know personally I'm going to be taking a lot of Joey's information on how to increase your overhead press, how to get more out of it, and how to train it, right? So, Joey, take it away.
Yeah, guys, what's up? So, Coach Joe here, competitive strongman, and in strongman, you really have to have a big, and strong overhead press. So it's something I put a lot of time and energy into trying to figure out, break down technically. So we'll kind of cover some of the basic principles. We'll go over some things that I would consider. I'm not here to say that my way is the best way or the only way. I want you guys to experiment and try these things out and see if they work for you. But I think you'll find some value and maybe some things to think about. So when it comes to overhead press position, one thing I always say is actually overlooked, and for the sake of this video, we didn't think about it too much, but is where the J cups, or whoa, almost roll hey, no, where the J cups are, just because when it comes to any lift, we want to be as efficient as possible, and we don't want to lose energy during the lift wherever we can. So look at like a walkout for a squat, for example, right? We don't want to take unnecessary steps. We don't want to be pitter-pattering around. So the same thing happens with the setup with the overhead press. So figuring out where your J cups are, whether too low or too high, is something to consider. And I see it happen a lot with people.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a tip that I never really had heard, but it's something that goes a long way. So taking the time to set them up at the right height is good. And to figure that out, we want to make sure that we can get under the bar and have a slight knee bend to stand up and be able to clear those J cups when we do take a step back and get set. And at the same time, if they're too high and we have to get on our tippy toes and we have a lot of weight, that can just be unsafe, and it's not going to be as efficient. So figuring out where your J cups need to be is an overlooked thing in my opinion. So there's your first tip. Second tip is going to come down to grip, guys. And this is where you're going to have tons of different people telling you different things. I used to be a guy who was gripping pretty wide. Like I'd have my pinkies out kind of where this knurling line is, right? And I would press, let's just say from right here, okay, we're pressing straight up, straight back down, just like so. But what I realized is over time, I started getting some shoulder issues, and I just wasn't as strong as possible with that grip. So what I started to do was bring my grip in more narrow. And the reason I like being more narrow is because we can stay really tight in that rack position. Think about breathing, bracing, right? We're getting that all that energy, the pressure, same that I've been talking about with other lifts. The same thing applies for the overhead press. So when we get that closer grip, we're gonna be able to build up that inner abdominal pressure more. We're gonna be kind of like a loaded spring. And the other benefit is being able to utilize these triceps, right? You'll see a lot of people who are pretty strong halfway up and they just can't get the lockout for whatever reason. Obviously, you want to hit accessory lifts to strengthen those triceps, but one of the best things you can do is just press more and maybe bring that grip in a little bit, which is going to help utilize the strength over time. If you guys were to look actually at my arm, right, you can see it's at the biggest there we're about 20 some inch arms. But I would say 70% is going to be the tricep, and that's because I do a lot of overhead pressing and I have a more narrow grip, so I'm utilizing the tricep strength. So getting right to the point, guys, I'm going to go with a more narrow grip. Play with it. Don't be, so convinced that one way is the only way, and see if it works for you. So once we're in the rack, okay, we're going to get under the bar a little bit, stand up with it, 1 step, 2 step back, and we're set. Now the next thing we're going to go through from here is going to be foot positioning. Okay, often what I'll see is people are going too narrow when they press. Okay, so for me, just like anything else, I want to have a strong base. All right, so once we have that grip established, we're going to see where our feet are at. I like a slight toe flare rather than being straightforward. And I'll probably say anywhere from hip width to shoulder width, okay? We don't want to go too far out because then it's just going to be inefficient and it's not going to be pretty. So kind of just find where you're comfortable, but try not to walk that tightrope or feel like your legs are more narrow, I'd say, than hip width overall. I think it's kind of a good place to be. So I'm going to be right outside of shoulder width, slight toe flare. And from here, we're going to get into that rack position. Now for me, being a big dude, once I have weight on the bar, it's going to push it down on my collarbone. If you guys can, kind of get that close to the collarbone and into midline as much as possible. When we're close to midline, we're just going to be in a better, stable position, have a lot of energy, and be ready to press. So from there, we're in there at rack position. We're going to squeeze our butt. We're going to stay super tight, right? We're going to keep everything just packed and in place. And then from there, we're going to tuck our chin back. That's a big one. A lot of people let their head come out in front and forward, and what they do is they press the bar around their head, okay? So what we wanna do, I know it's super hot and attractive, is tuck that chin back, get that double chin, clear some room, and from there, it's just like pressing a window straight open and yelling out at the cameraman, what up, right? So we're just right here, okay? And now we're in a nice, stable position. And I like this position because I would always use the analogy, if I told you to hold something out in front of you, right, versus straight above you, which one are you going to be able to hold longer? Which one, Sam?
Right above you, coach.
There we go. He is an awesome Padawan to the press. And honestly, that's just because we're stacked bone-on-bone structure up top overhead. The more we drift away in any variation or any lift, that becomes harder and it's not going to be as efficient, especially in a sport where you have to press out like strongman. Every rep counts. All the energy we can keep is what we're trying to do. So that's just a super easy breakdown. We have grip, okay? We got our feet set, our butt squeezed, chin back, pressing straight up, all right? And then right back down. As we come down, we retract our head back so we don't clock ourselves. And then we're gonna stick our head through slightly. I like to say keep your ears in line with your biceps. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. Obviously it's different for everybody, but we also don't wanna hyperextend back like this, and we don't wanna be out in front. So Goldilocks method, just right. I feel a nice, strong, stable position here. And as we come down, I just tuck that chin back. So that's kind of, I would say, a simple, easy rundown of a strict press. The other thing I forgot to mention real quick with grip, and I see this with sometimes Olympic lifters, or let's say CrossFitters who are transitioning more into this kind of stuff, is they tend to put the bar in their fingertips or high up on the palm, and that's not as efficient. So what I would say is get that bar on the hard part of your palm and then wrap around. It's just going to be a more stable position and a stronger position overall. But that's kind of the basic principles, I would say, of the press.
Beautiful. So before we wrap this video up, and for those who have been watching this entire video, we appreciate you. Can you give us one or two things that helped your overhead press the most, whether it's frequency, whether it's the style of training, whatever, just take it away.
Yeah, kind of like I said, I used to have a pretty wide grip on the bar. And over time, it did feel uncomfortable at first. Bringing my hands in closer for me has been really beneficial. It's allowed me to just build up that pressure, almost be like a loaded spring, and be able to really press and just be more efficient. So that's the first one. The second one is gonna be frequency. At one point, I was pressing 4 times a week, and you're probably like, what? How is that possible? Well, what I would do, kind of piggybacking off of this with frequency, is gonna be variations where maybe on day 1, I'm just doing a barbell strict press or whatever competition press I'm doing for strongman, like a log clean and press or an axle bar clean and press, whatever. Then the second day, I'm going to do maybe a pin press. So we're starting from a weak position, right? Say at our forehead, and we're gonna drive just from that position, just like you do a pin squat, but a pin press for the overhead work. And then later in the week, I would do something maybe like with dumbbells, where you're just trying to work on a stimulus to fatigue ratio where we're still trying to get that proper stimulus, but we don't want to have a high level of fatigue, and we're still able to get more volume in. So what I always say to people is if you're pressing 1 time a week, you're not noticing many gains, first, tidy up your technique. See if there's some sort of energy we're losing in your technique that we can get more efficient with. Secondly, is then going to be increasing the frequency, okay? Just volume and frequency in general. So if you're going 1 time a week, try 2 times a week. Then look at your volume. Each week, add a little bit more reps, and over time, hopefully that helps. You know, don't go right from 1 time a week to 4 times per week. I've been doing this for a long time, so when I first started, it was just 1 time to 2 times. I did that, it worked really well. Then I started to plateau. From there, increase a third day, maybe get a fourth day. And like I said, we're not using a barbell for every single one of those days and doing barbell strict press. We're doing other accessory lifts with a different stimulus to fatigue ratio. So you have your push pressing, you have any dumbbell work or dumbbell pressing. You can do things like Z pressing where you're kind of taking out your stability a little bit, and then it's going to become a harder variation, and we can't put as much weight on the bar, but still allowing us to get skill acquisition and be able to get more volume for the shoulders. So those would be like my two big ones for people who are trying to increase their overhead press.
Awesome. Guys, thank you for checking out this video. Joey, thank you as always for joining us here at Elite FTS.
My pleasure.
On behalf of myself, actually, before I go that, I'm not even going to outro this yet. Joey, where can people find you? What an ass.
You guys can check me out on the search bar. Just type in Zat Strength, and everything and all my dirt will pop up. So go through and have fun with that. And yeah, there you go.
Find the dirt.
Find the dirt.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for checking out this video. As always, like, subscribe, do all the things. Share it with everybody you love, hate, whatever.
Cat down the street.
Cat down. That's it. On behalf of myself, Jacob behind the camera, and everybody here at Elite FTS, thank you very much for checking out this video, and we'll see you in the next one.